Thank y'all for having. Can I
All right,
see
so we're
me?
joined by 2009 graduate of,
11.
I'm sorry, 2011 graduate of Velma Jackson High School, member of the Velma Jackson Hall of Fame, alum of Rust College, alum of University of Southern Mississippi, University of Mississippi, professor at Jackson State University, member of the Air Force National Guard here in Mississippi. Jessica Love, cannot think of a better way to end our semester as our final guest for this class. I've got a room
Thank
full here
you.
with me at your alma mater, Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our seniors,
Hey,
our college
y'all.
career class at Madison Central High School, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you again for taking some time and fitness in your schedule today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always important to me to give this level of insight back to the place that has given so much to me and the students because I'm excited to see where they go. So thank y'all for inviting me. I hope y'all can see me because I can't see y'all.
Yeah, we got you a big Promethean board at the front. They can all see you and on their screen as well.
Okay.
Now
Okay.
because like I said, we got some deep questions, but I did give them a little background on you, but take us back from the beginning. Graduate of Velma Jackson, 2011, member of the Hall of Fame, and then went to the great HBCU in North Mississippi, Rust.
Yes, so Rust chose me. I did not choose Rust, and only a graduate of Rust College could ever make that statement. But before I go there, I want to just talk about my time at Velma Jackson and say that it might not seem like it right now, but you all are at one of the best schools in the country. And I say that because you are situated in one of the best districts in the state and in the country, but you're also in a rural area that is very small, community based. And so sometimes it's hard to see the benefit of all of that, where you have teachers who are invested in your education, teachers from your community who's gone to school to be educators and have chosen to come back and pour into their community. And so that was the result of my experience there while I was at Velma Jackson. I was heavily involved. School was my gateway. I grew up in a very turbulent household as a young child, single parent household, witnessed some abuse take place in my home. And so school was the place. School was the place where I chose to invest because it was the place that provided me opportunities to escape the situations that my household provided. And so for some of you all who might be thinking, I come from maybe a disadvantaged background, or my home is unstable, or maybe there is not as much security as I would like in the home. School can also be an answer for that, but we don't often think about that. And so I poured as much as I could into school. My grades, I played sports. I was involved in probably every organization that the school provided. And it is those things. It is those things that propelled me to the spaces that I'm in now, who provided me provided me with the exposure, the traveling experiences, the mentorship that I was able to use. And so when I went to Rust College, I received a full scholarship to Rust College. My ultimate goal, Greg, was to go to Mississippi State University. I was a part of 4-H, which is a community
Yeah.
organization in Madison County. Some of you students may be a part, or if not, it's something to look into. And again, it was just exposure. I traveled to Mississippi State University every summer with my best friend and my godmother, Missy Lane Towner. You may or may not know her.
Yeah.
She would take us every summer and to be a part of these experiences. And that's where I was headed until my pastor, who was the previous chaplain at Rust College before she became my pastor, begged me to go. And so she kind of made a bet with me that, hey, because she knew I was dead set on going to Mississippi State. And she was like, hey, if you choose to go to Rust for their orientation for a week, and if you don't like it, I'll help you pay to go to Mississippi State. And I was like, that's a done deal. I'm going to play her, because obviously she wanted me to play her with a deal like that. And so I went down there and had the time of my life. That was my first time stepping on historically Black college and universities, and really my first time
Wow.
learning about an HBCU as opposed to seeing your teachers wear a shirt, as opposed to seeing your teachers talk about that they had gone. I had no real true emotional connection to the school. And so when I got there, I learned that Rust College used to be a slave auctioning site, the very
Mhm.
place that the school is located on. And it's the oldest historically Black college in the state of Mississippi that began in the basement of a church.
Yep.
And so when I got there, it was really an awakening moment for me. I had never been connected to my history in that way. And so I
Wow.
wanted to learn more. I was like, I didn't even know my history was this deep. And so I decided to stay. I took a basket of clothes with me because I had intentions on playing my pastors and ended up having to go back and get the remainder of my things. And so that's how I got from Velma to Rust College, but it was because of my grades. And don't let anybody tell you that your grades aren't important. Your grades are equity. That means they have value. Equity is anything with value. In the educational arena, your grades translate to currency. Currency is what we know as of money. How do you get a full scholarship? With good grades. How do you become a part of organizations and are able to travel with good grades? And so my currency that I accumulated at Velma, and so don't let anybody tell you that your grades don't matter, because that's a lie. And you can tell them that Dr. Love said that was a lie. Your grades absolutely do matter, because it can set you up for other things.
Yeah, and then the thing about Rust that I think a lot of people don't understand is that everybody's different when it comes to their educational setting that is best for them. So obviously, you went to Ole Miss after Rust. I went to Southern Miss. We've had some teachers that have gone to large universities, and they really do offer a lot. But you
Mhm.
don't somebody that learns well in a smaller environment can very easily get lost in the shuffle at a large university. I tell this story all the time about when I was at Southern Miss. I went to Madison Central, large high school. So I was used to the big classes. I was in a class with 500 people at Madison Central. So
Mhm.
then I had a class with about that same amount at USM. And there was a guy in the class I had literally known my entire life. And I did not know he was in the class until the last day. So
Mm.
it was that easy to get lost in the shuffle at a large university. Now, luckily, it didn't hurt me academically, but some people that is overwhelming if this setting that we have here is what you're used to. And Rush really does offer a similar setting for your education.
Yes, and also too, like, just beyond the ratio, right? The student to teacher ratio, like, and what that means, students, is that, like, for every teacher, there may be 15 students at an HBCU. At a larger is, and you might hear this too as you're applying for school, and that's a question you need to ask. What is the student to teacher ratio? At a predominant institution, the student to teacher ratio may be one teacher for every 100 students. It just depends on the institution. But beyond that ratio, for me, I could have survived at Mississippi State. I could have survived at Ole Miss. I could have survived at any of those institutions. So for me, it wasn't really necessarily about that student to teacher ratio. It was just about community, being in
Yeah.
a space where I didn't have to worry about other things surrounding my education. And also at an HBCU, you develop a unique perspective for navigating the world, solving solutions. As an HBCU graduate, you lead with a community mindset. You
Yep.
learn that your work is always greater than you. You never leave thinking that, well, I'm doing this for me because I want to have money. And that's great. But when you're situated within an HBCU culture, you learn that your work is so much more important. And that is the space. It's the space where we find answers and solutions to things that are inflicting our communities. But beyond that, a lot of us think that because we went to a predominantly Black school, that we don't have to go to an HBCU because I've been around Black people. Well, the truth of the matter is not all Black people are the same.
There
And
you
we
go.
don't learn that. Yeah, we don't learn that until we're in settings being challenged with that way of thinking. And so for students out there who may be thinking, well, I don't want to go to HBCU because I went to an all Black high school. That doesn't that This isn't even the full breadth of Black experience in Camden,
Absolutely.
Mississippi. You've been exposed to what, 300 people in 500, 1,000 people in Camden. I've had friends come from Russ College who come from African dynasties. I've had friends who come from places where they never heard of a piece of red roll sausage. And y'all know we like red roll sausage in the morning. I've heard people, who've never been on trail rides. And so learning about other different Black people experiences challenged my own beliefs about myself, challenged my own beliefs about my people. And so having that experience to grow and learn in a space where I saw Black excellence every day, but also was challenged in my own thought process about what being Black meant. Because just because you are Black don't mean you're the experts of all things Black. You're
Yep.
not. You're not. Because you're the expert of all things Black within your own cultural context,
Yep.
meaning within your community that you grew up in. And so for me, it was so much deeper, than student teacher ratio. But for those students who want that familial experience when you go to college, as Mr. Greg pointed out, HBCU does provide that because the classes are smaller. Like I teach at Jackson State now. I have students, I ain't seen them for a while. Where you at? I haven't seen you in 2 days. You need to come to class. Where you been? Now at other predominant universities, you might not get that level of support. Teachers might not care to check up on you like that. And so the experiences are very different. But I would say if you're looking to learn more about yourself, if you're looking to learn more about the Black experience, our issues, things that impact our community, what solutions might look like for not just Black communities but for minority communities, and HBCU is the space to do that. If you're looking for a familial experience to grow and to learn, that is the space that you should be in. HBCUs produce the largest numbers of doctors. You got Meharry Medical College,
In
who
Nashville.
produce,
Yep.
which is, I'm a Black College Fund ambassador for the United Methodist Church, which is why my understanding of HBCUs are so much deep. But guess where I became a Black College Fund ambassador? At Russ College. And so again, I go back to this again, your grades are a form of currency. I was able to become a Black College Fund ambassador, travel to the Philippines, travel to
Wow.
Japan, because one, my grades. Your grades can put you in spaces and places that your name alone cannot. And so take care of that. Like right now, my little brother, he struggled his first. You all may know Justin Love. Justin Love
Yep.
is my younger brother. He's at Jackson State now. He struggled his first semester due to some family issues. And so he had to play catch up this semester with his GPA. But he got an email at the end of the semester. The teacher told him, because of your great effort in this classroom, because you show up, because you do your work, because you don't make excuses, you're exempt from the final exam, which
Wow.
allowed him to have an 8 as a final grade. So I'm telling you all this, that don't think that this stuff doesn't matter now, because it absolutely does. It creates, patterns of behavior for when you move outside of this place. Because you don't start being great when you get ready. You start being great now. You got to start the waking up early, the respecting your elders. You got to start the taking your work and things serious now, because it's not a switch you can just turn on when you get to college and say, I played all high school, I ain't really care, but now I want to care. So all of that stuff impacts your overall experience moving and that transition from high school to college, because a lot of that accountability is going to be on you.
Yeah. Now, one thing I also want to talk about is when I was giving a little intro of you before lunch, a couple people said, "Well, if she went to all those colleges, how in the world did she pay for all that?" And I know you've done several things, including join the military. And I think we've had some military guests, and what I've tried to say is that it's not just kick down doors and blow stuff up,
Yes.
and the benefits of the military are immeasurable.
Yeah.
And they, and it's not what you see in the movies. 'Cause people, I don't want people yelling at me, and I don't want to cut my hair off, and I was like, when it comes down to it, that's actually a pretty small price to pay for what you get in return.
Absolutely. So just FY, y'all, I'm gonna say it again. This is obviously my theme for today. Grades paid for my school. I had a full ride scholarship to every institution that I attended. And when you get to the graduate level, it's called a graduate assistantship or fellowship.
Yeah.
My tuition at every institution that I attended was paid for. Now, that didn't mean that I didn't need loans or anything to support myself, because again, I came from a single parent household. My mom could not fully financially support me in ways that she would have. She did, but she couldn't send me $400 a month because I had younger siblings at home. So I had to think about my grades as a form of currency. And so my grades provided that entryway into me being able to apply for scholarships, me being able to apply for graduate assistantships. But the military came in handy here. So I joined the military my sophomore year at Russ College. The summer, I had mapped it out very strategically. So this is how I ended up getting in the military. My best friend and I, Kenya Davis, we went to prom. In my grand, I think I had a Grand Am. But I had to unplug the battery, y'all, every day. I had to unplug the battery when I got in and out, because the battery would run dead if I left it plugged up. And that was a small price to pay for me so I could have a car. I didn't really care if people saw me unplugging my battery, because
Yeah.
the car, y'all don't. So one day her father saw me, who was a recruiter in the Air Force, for the Air Force National Guard. And I mean, the National Guard is very different from being active duty. And I'll talk about that a little later. But he said, "What are you doing under that hood?" We were getting ready to leave. And I was like, "Oh, I'm hooking my battery back up." You know, as a country girl, those are things we know how to do. So I was hooking my battery back up so we could leave. He was like, "You should get in the Air Force. Go to the Air Force. They'll provide you, with some money in your pocket. You'll have a little money here, there. And then when you leave basic training, because you're going to save all the money for those 8 weeks that you're
Yeah.
in basic
Yeah.
training,
You're not paying for
you can get
food.
out."
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're going to pay for your food, your house. You're not going to be able to go anywhere. So you're just going to be racking up money in your savings. So he was like, "So you could take that money that you get and get you a car." I was like, "So when can I sign up?" So literally in a matter of 2 weeks, because in my mind, I was like, I wasn't even thinking about like making the military my career. I was thinking, let me get a car for school. So I signed up in like less than 2 weeks. Me and my best friend shipped off together. I saved every dime I made because I didn't need to spend it. I gave my mother $10,000, a $10,000
Wow.
cashier's check, to buy me a car, and she drove my car to my Air Force graduation. And
Wow.
that was it. That was it. And so what the military has done for me over these course of 11 years now, I've been in the military 11 years now, since I was 18, is providing me a form of stability that nobody else could have. I was going to always get a check once a month because I had drill once a month. And then educational benefits. The GI Bill, the post 9/11 GI Bill, I was able to get 300 and 400, depending on how big your institution is and your tuition. I was able to get like $450 a month for going to Russ and maintaining a C average. So you had to maintain a C average for that. Now, those members who are in the military now and are looking for school, your tuition is waived at major universities in the state. So if you go to Mississippi State, your tuition is free. If you go to USM, your tuition is free. If you go to, I think Jackson State may offer it. Most
Yep.
of the universities in the state are following this pattern where your tuition
Yeah.
is free. Now, I didn't even come through at that time, but imagine the money I could have had in my pocket had my tuition been paid for like it is now for members today. And so the difference between being in the Air National Guard and active duty is active duty means that's your career. Your full-time career, meaning Monday through Friday, you're going to wear that uniform. You're probably going to get deployed to a location, which will be your home station. But as a National Guard member, my first priority is to the state. And so one weekend, the first weekend of every month, I go to drill. And no, I'm not climbing walls and shooting guns. That's not even my job. I support commanders. I support pilots. I helped them with tactical communication. And so I helped my commander relay important information to the other pilots within our unit. So I work directly for officers and pilots. So that's my job. I am sitting behind a desk for majority of my work, but you still have to maintain your physical and mental wellness. I still have a PT test to take once a year. So that accountability looks different. So my first priority is to the state. So it operates like a part-time job. Where one weekend out of the month I go to the military and I still make sometimes more money in that one weekend than most people make in 2 weeks. And so, for those of you, and I didn't want to do the military full time because I knew my career aspirations succeeded there.
Yeah.
But the military is always a great addition to any resume or CV. I mean, my current job at Logitech as the education marketing manager was because I found this job on a military uh, page for military service members. And so
Yeah.
that was my entryway into that job. And so the military has definitely been a great financial asset and stability for me over the past 12 years.
That's awesome. Now the last thing we'll get to before I get to these questions, because they're really good, I want to get to all of them, is, you went from Rush to Ole Miss, so you did the big state PWI, and you said nothing but great things about Ole Miss as well, because you said you had a great time. So you really can
Oh
get a
my
lot out of
God.
both campuses. So talk
Yes.
about that Ole Miss experience in grad school, because you just went on and on about how great the program was.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So, and also too, it is very important to realize that a lot of the notions that we hold around the University of Mississippi is rooted in its history. But
Yeah.
the other part of that conversation that is never had is that that school has done a lot of work to move itself forward in a positive direction. And I would be remiss if I did not say that, because my experience at the University of Mississippi was amazing. I went there as a graduate student, so I was not seeking this undergraduate experience that most students have, but the level of financial support. I couldn't tell you what the financial aid office looked like at Ole Miss because I never had to go. I never
Wow.
had to go. My financials were situated. If there was any type of academic support for a conference that I wanted to attend, if there was a academic conference that I wanted to attend to present my research as a graduate student, they paid for it. I never paid to print anything on campus. The faculty and staff were very knowledgeable in what they were doing and were willing to help me get to that next level. And my experience was very practical. On a graduate level, I was able to practice in my industry with top professionals in my career field. The guy who was teaching my class at that time owned one of the top PR agencies in the country. But if
Wow.
you don't go to school with that mindset thinking of how can I use this space in this place to elevate to the next point, you won't even research your professors. You won't even care to know, well, who's teaching these classes and who are they connected to and who can I learn from? And so it was also at the University of Mississippi where I met some of my lifelong friends and business partners. I was in a space, I had moved beyond undergrad and was now, when you go to grad school, people don't see you as a student. That's a whole nother conversation. They see you as a
Yep.
grown person, but you still have tuition. You're still a full-time student. You're still struggling. I was broke. I was probably making less than $20,000 a year in combined with everything that I was doing. But I was able to meet peers who were going in the same direction as me in grad school, who I was able to form bonds and connections with. And so I was able to find a community there that at the graduate level at a predominant white institution that I probably would not have survived without. And so there was so much, it was so much that, the University of Mississippi provided me. And then USM, when I went to USM, it was a launching pad for my career. I am a full-time assistant professor at Jackson State, but prior to that, I served as the program coordinator for the McNair Scholars Program at USM and an instructor while I was at USM. So USM was kind of the space where I was able to actualize and realize that these were things that I actually wanted to do. And so I was able to work amongst professionals at USM who could help me get to that next level. And so I think that that experience that those institutions provided me are unparalleled in any kind of way. And so um if I could have stayed at Ole Miss, I would have stayed there. But they didn't have a PhD program in mass communication, so I was forced to leave.
Well, and something you mentioned too is you talked about, going to grad school, you have to find, we've talked a lot about undergrad scholarships in this class from all these schools and I'm proud of them for looking into that. But going to grad school, going to these big time SEC universities, it's not cheap. And,
No,
my dad's
no.
my dad's a surgeon. I still had to have a graduate assistantship to go to LSU because there's no way we could have afforded it. So
Yes,
a lot of people are in that same boat, but you have to find a way to get yourself into that field. Again, use your grades, use your networking, and find a
networks.
way because it can
Mhm.
happen if you find it because they're always looking for graduate assistants, interns, and all those things in order to staff these departments.
Yes, and it's something that, initially, when we reached out, I was like, we could talk about careers. And you was like, we kind of went through that conversation. And part of that conversation is realizing your chosen career field, what are the requirements for it? Can anybody in the class today tell me what their career is and what are the requirements to get in that field?
They actually, most of them can.
That's good because oftentimes a graduate degree is going to be required for you to move into leadership. It's going to be required for you to make more money. And I wouldn't be your sister if I didn't tell you that as young Black people, the careers are often the educational requirements are often the gateways for us to get into these positions. There's been a lot of discussion going around about the use of a college degree and a graduate degree, that, oh, you don't really need a degree to do xyz, but in certain career fields you do. And
Yeah.
in many of those career fields, if you want to make more money and you want to be more competitive in that career field, you're going to need multiple degrees. I've just recently, elevated in my career and my income, but that's only attributed to the level of degrees that I were able to attain. And so if you're going into the sciences, if you're going into STEM fields, if you're going into career fields where the competition is stiff, how do you stand out from the competition? And then we know that there are significant hurdles that we face as Black people in the workplace. Black women are paid 17 cents less on the dollar than the average white man. So how do you put yourself in a position to get that money that you deserve? We're already fighting, right? And so if you want to be more competitive in your career field, oftentimes graduate school is going to be the answer. And obviously this is nothing for you to sort through right now, but it's something to think about. For those of you who say you want to be a doctor, that's an additional 4+ years in school. Are you committed to doing that? Because you got to commit right now. You got to commit right now. Those of you who are saying you want to be an engineer, you're going to need about at least an additional 2 years outside of that 4-year institution to get that certification to do those things. So it's something to think about. And I didn't think about grad school. I can tell you that right now. There wasn't a Jessica telling me about this. So first of all, thank your professor, your instructor, for exposing you to these types of conversations, because I had no clue what graduate school was in high school
Oh,
or
it was the
even in
same for me. I always say nobody took the time to go over this with me at all in high school.
yeah, so this is like this level of exposure for you all is amazing because it's already priming you to things that you can start thinking about. And right now is not the time for you to stress about grad school. It's just time for you to think about, is it a part of your plan? Is it necessary for your career steps that you've mapped out?
Yeah, but I agree. But one thing, I just faxed over a housing application for one of them during lunch. But waiting to the last second on the stuff, the time for I don't know has got to end. Everybody's got to start
Yes.
making decisions. But I do want to get to as many of these questions as I can. These are all seniors. The first one is Kanila Banks. She's
Hey,
one of our
Kanila.
volleyball players here. She asked, "What advice can you give to someone who was undecided in high school on becoming a teacher because I have changed my chosen career path more than once in the last year.
I think the best thing for you to do is to go to school. I think school is going to expose you to so much, like, and that's for anybody. Her name is Kanila.
Yep.
Kamila, so when I encounter students who are undecided about their career just in general, my first suggestion is to go to college. Here's why. You're going to be exposed to so many different things at college. It isn't just about taking classes. It's about exposure to the career fields of choice. So once you become a student at a institution for teaching, guess what they're going to expose you to? Teaching experiences. But even at this level, what are you trying to do with your summer? Have you thought about shadowing a teacher for the summer? Sometimes internship opportunities are created, and we don't think about that. We often think about we always got to apply to an internship. I've completed like 8 internships, and probably 6 of them were created for me because I
Wow.
had a conversation with somebody and was like, hey, I know you do XYZ. Can I work with you? Now, they weren't always paid. And that's okay. Kanala, this summer, you might not need to be paid. The payoff might be what you walk away with. Because in the long run, you want to be in a career that you actually care about, you passionate about, that you love wake up doing every morning. Like, I am a full-time professor, and yes, students wear me out, but it's what I love to do every single day. And so, one, I would suggest shadowing a professor. Or, I mean, I'm sorry, a teacher. Shadow a teacher. It could be right here at Velma Jackson. Shadow Miss Drank. What subject are you interested in teaching? You know, a teacher would be overwhelmingly excited to expose you to some things like that. They might allow you to grade one paper. They might let you come up with a lecture. And when you get to undergrad and you go to school, that'll be a part of your practical experience as a undergraduate student going through a teaching program. You're going to be required to teach, make curriculums and things like that. And so I say start with school. And guess what, Kanila? If you get to school and you say, I don't really like this, you could change your major and do something else. So, try it out. Find different avenues to get your foot out. And that's what happened to me. I wanted to be a news reporter. Oh my God. And why? I got college and was thrown into the news reporting room as a reporter. And I was like, this is not for me. So I stuck to the writing route. So just try it out.
Yeah. Here's a good one. This is Patricia Evans. She wants to go to Texas Southern University, HBCU down there in Houston, wants to get into real estate. And she asked, what is something most high schoolers don't understand about the transition from high school to college?
Girl, that's a good question. One thing they don't understand is the level of accountability. I think everything else you can survive. You're gonna learn how
Yep.
to like make a meal out of some noodles and a hot pocket. You're gonna make a pack of noodles stretch. You're gonna make a hot pocket stretch. You're gonna make $10 is going to be equivalent to $100 in college. You're gonna
Mhm.
figure all of the logistics out. But one thing students struggle with in common in college is the level of accountability. You can't excuse your way out of your own crappy behavior. And I think we talk so much about technical things as it relates to adulthood, but we never really talk about accountability. I have students who wait to the last semester, the last week of class to tell me they were struggling with family issues. That's why they couldn't get their assignment in. I can't help you, and the grades are due tomorrow. If you wanted my help, you had to reach out before then. And so part of that is learning that you're going to have to you're going to have to ask for help when you need it. And part of that is accountability. You can't expect your professor to know that you are facing these problems that you haven't communicated. But also, you can't lay around all day because some professors won't care. The bigger the school, actually, the less they care because they have
Yep.
more stuff to do. They don't have time to sit around and wait till you submit your 5-page paper. Nobody's going to give you that many second chances. Or some teachers may allow you to go ahead and crap your way on through, and they won't say a word. And at the end of the semester, you got an F. Now you're reaching out asking what you can do, and they said there's nothing you can do. So, and then also level accountability comes in getting up in the morning. One of the things you should know about an HBCU is sometimes we don't get the option to choose the 8 o'clock or the 9 o'clock class because the schools are smaller. So that class is only offered at 8 o'clock. And guess what you're gonna have to do? Get up at 8 o'clock. Mom's not gonna come knock on the door. You're gonna be done stayed out all night, and you might have to just keep it rolling. Go brush your teeth, go take a shower, and keep it rolling to class. But that's the level of accountability that you're going to only learn in a space where everything's on you. I have students right now who your parents can't call me in college because you are an adult. You signed a waiver. Actually, it's illegal for me to give any information to your parent. So
Absolutely.
you come telling me that my mama said, I don't care about what your mama said. I don't care about what your mama said. And most of your professors are going to be that way. And so one of the hardest things, and back to her question, one of the hardest things is that level of accountability. And it's really going to test to see how much do you want it. It's going to test you to see, like, if you were to ask my young brother right now, who this semester was his grind mode, his greatest challenge last semester was you can't stay out and have fun all day. It's gonna seem easy in the beginning, like, oh, I can hang out when I want to. I can do what I want to do. I can spend my little money how I want to spend it. I can do my you, but all assignments you can't do at the last minute. And so that level of accountability and discipline is also what school provides, that it's beyond the education. The things you gain from school goes beyond education. You learn how to be an adult. You learn how to lose. You learn how to take an L and get up and go to the cave on Soul Food Thursday and hang out with your friends and come up with a strategy for getting your stuff together. So it's that level of accountability.
Absolutely. Here's one. This is Tashanti Levy, member of our band, wants to go to Talladega College and get into the health field. But
Okay.
she asked, how, in your career, how often do you meet people that have a similar background to you?
All the time. And it's how you get to that next level. You need to be surrounded by people who are trying to do what you're doing. So initially, my introduction into the educational landscape was the Black College Fund. I'm going to paint this picture for you about networking and how it's important. I started off at Russ College, became a Black College Fund ambassador in 2012. What I did as a Black College Fund ambassador was travel the world, literally talking about the necessity of historically Black colleges and raising money for the 11 that are associated with the United Methodist Church. Because I went to Q Paul United Methodist Church. That's how I became an ambassador. From there, I worked so well, was able to help them raise so much money. My work kind of echoed the halls. People were, raving about my speeches when I would travel. That they invited me to come do some clerical work for them one summer. It seemed totally unrelated, but this is in higher ed leadership, right? That's kind of where I'm headed. So I get there, I learn about filing papers for them. I'm building relationship with the assistant general secretary of the Black College Fund. I'm meeting college presidents on the regular basis. But I'm
Wow.
all while I'm filing. I'm learning about, their financials. And while I'm filing, I'm also learning. I ain't just filing papers. I'm learning, oh, well, this is what the 5% fund does. Okay. Okay. So this is how much money they give the Russ every year. Okay. From there, I go to grad school. I get a call one summer. It is the assistant general secretary of the Black College Fund. She says to me, what are you doing this summer? Aren't you what you're getting your degree in? I said, oh, it's marketing communication. She was like, well, I need you to come up here and do some of that for us. Invited me to Nashville to work that summer doing social and digital media for the Black College Fund. Who was I
Wow.
able to meet? Who was I able to meet? The communications director at the general agency for the Global United Methodist Church. That led to a full-time job working for the General Board of Higher Education's communications team for the United Methodist Church, and has led me into the roles that I'm in today. So to answer your question, it's networking. I meet people in my career field all the time, either going where I'm going or been where I've been. And the greatest people to connect with are people who've been where you're trying to go.
Yeah, and,
Because
and
they're
it's and I always
you are
say it's
trying
not,
to
they always say it's not what you know, it's who you know. I'll take it one step farther. It's who knows you. If you don't put your name
yo,
out there,
yes.
nobody's gonna come and find you, no matter what color you are, no matter what gender you are, and
Yes, and
nothing is gonna fall on your lap.
put that phone down. When you're in spaces where you can be connected to people who have more than you and people who can help you, put your phone down and talk. We have got to learn how to introduce ourselves. What's your elevator pitch? If somebody was to ask you right now, who are you and what you're interested in, what would you say? Learn how to network in spaces and connect with people who can help you do things, but you can't be too pompous that you aren't willing to learn and that you aren't willing to meet new people and work on things that you, because had I been like, I'm a grad student, I don't want to file any papers for the summer, had I had that mindset, I would have missed out on one of the best work opportunities of my life. And so put the phone down, learn how to talk, be nice. Like, be nice to people. That matters, because that is how you get connected to people in your career field, um, that can help you move on to that next level.
All right, I got time for one more. This is Katherine Johnson. She wants to get into cosmetology. And she asked, did you ever feel discouraged coming from a small school like Velma and then going to a college, whether it was a small school like Rust or a big school like Southern or Ole Miss?
Oh, that's a good question. I've always kind of had this, and I think it has always worked to my benefit. I've always had this level of confidence just about myself, that the world didn't give and it could never take away. And so for me, any space that I entered, I always felt that I was the best at what I could do. And if I wasn't, I could learn better. And I always carried that attitude. I don't know where that attitude came from, but I've always had that attitude of where I was my own biggest cheerleader. But I did experience imposter syndrome, this feeling of I didn't belong there when I got to graduate school. Um, being a young Black woman at 27 years old, I was the youngest person in my PhD program, one of
Wow.
the only few women, and probably was two of us that were Black in my graduate
Wow.
program, my PhD program. And I didn't know many people that I grew up with or from our community besides Dr. Griffin and a few others who had a PhD that were Black women. And so once I got to my PhD level to become Dr. Love, I'm like, who are you to think that like you can, are you kidded yourself long enough? You actually have to like basically write a book, because your dissertation is a book. You do all of this research to basically write a book. I was like, who am I kidding to think that like I can do this? And that was the first time in my career where my fears were overwhelming. But you know what I did? I went to counseling. That was the first time that I was like, I think it's necessary for me to go to counseling here, because it prevented me from doing my best work. It prevented me from taking that next step. So if you're in a situation where you feel like, your fears can get in the way of you being your best self, one, seek counseling. Most of the time on your college campus, they will be free to you.
Yep.
Go to counseling. It
Yeah,
is
we
free.
had two last week. We had two counselors that talked about mental health in the Black community.
Yes, and also too, surround yourself with good friends. It's good friends. Like when I reached that point of the having this level of imposter syndrome, it was my friends who affirmed me. But you can't have friends who gonna always praise all of your behaviors. Because my friends was holding me accountable for stuff, right? So in college, who your friends are matters more than anything, because my little brother can tell you from his first semester, it was his friends that kind of got in the way of him repeating these behaviors that weren't conducive to him learning. But in the same token, once he changed those friends this semester, he left with all A's in the semester.
That's
So
awesome.
that makes a difference. That makes a difference. And so my recommendation there is, when you see yourself, you know, being afraid about existing in a space, that is credence to let you know that you need to be there, so that whoever comes behind you feels less of that fear than you. So they see themselves in examples that are moving forward. Oh, I've seen plenty of Black doctors. I feel confident in being one. I have aunts and uncles who you're creating that legacy. The legacy starts with you. You're creating a legacy where people can walk behind you and alleviate those fears, and also to lean into your support system. So one, when you're faced with those fears and those challenges about you belonging in a space, one, let that serve as affirmation that you need to be there. And two, your support system. There are people who really do love you and really do care about you. And when you get to the college level, you're going to really find out who those people are. It might be some
Absolutely.
family. You're going to really find out who those people are. And then three, utilize the resources around you. If you feel like you need counseling, if it's unbearable, and that doesn't mean you're weak. If it's if it's affecting your ability to be great, get the help that you deserve. So that's my suggestion there.
All right, now we're up against the bell. So real quick, you were walking these same halls, sitting in these same seats with a few of these same teachers living in this same place. So
Yeah.
you were in the exact same space that these kids are in now, but yet your success is not over and it just continues to grow. So it obviously it can be done. So
Yes.
what can they do now to prepare themselves as they get ready to graduate to follow in footsteps of alums like you?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. One is decide who you want to be now. You cannot wait until somebody asks you the question, or you in a space where that question becomes critical to start thinking about what impact you want to make on the world. Why are you here? What is your reason in being? And if you don't have one, find one. Figure out what is it that motivates you. Then two, start taking yourself serious. Stop sleeping on yourself. Stop playing around. Stop thinking that when you get ready, everything else will be ready for you. Because sometimes the opportunities won't be there anymore. So at this stage, how can you take yourself serious? I was always taking myself serious. Even as I played basketball, my coach knew that, well, we know Jessica's not going to college to play basketball. This is just a part of Jessica's social development. But what's really important to Jessica is getting to that next level academically. My coach knew that. My Coach Tamika Brown, knew that college was the ultimate end result for me. So one, take yourself serious. Well, one, figure out what you're passionate about. What is your why? Why do you exist? What is it? What impact you want to make? Two, start taking yourself serious. Imagine if you woke up tomorrow and decided to invest in yourself in ways that you had never done before. Imagine where you'd be. And then three, develop good habits. Good habits good habits put you in good positions. You only get a flat stomach by working out. So if you want a flat stomach, you got to do some sit-ups. If you want to make good money, you got to start practicing saving. You got to start doing good habits now. And although that might not be relevant to you right now, these are just examples. What good habits have you endorsed in your life? When you get up in the morning, what's your routine? When you're doing your work, how do you plan stuff? Those good habits have to be adjusted now, and those are things that have propelled me forward. All of these skills that you see as mundane and repetitive in college are going to be a launching pad for you as you move on into next spaces. Like, prime example, basketball. I played basketball years ago. My last year playing basketball was 2011. Um, but that same level of work ethic that I developed during practice, having to run, is the same level of work ethic I apply to the military when it's time for me to prepare for my PT test. I have to. I know that, okay, Jessica, it's time for us to hit the ground running. I wish I could turn my camera around to you all and show you that I have an elliptical in my bedroom. Why? Because my PT test is coming up in April. And even though my work requires me to be stationary, I still have a commitment to my job. And I don't get to go to my commander and be like, oh, well, I failed my PT test because I work from home. I really didn't have time to go to the gym. That's not an excuse I could use. So, what good habits are you endorsing now that can put you in good position? Because you don't get put in good positions by happenstance. You actually have to work for those things. And so, right now, in the space that you're in, what about your life are you unhappy with? And what about your life can you change? And so though that's what I would encourage you to do.
And nothing changes until you change it yourself. I say that all the
Yep.
time. Well, the bell just rang, but we appreciate you having. It's a great way to end the semester with this class, and just such an inspiration. And we can't wait to have you back on campus for you to talk about him and see him face to face. You're always welcome here, and you know that. So Jessica Love,
Thank
graduate,
y'all.
Hall of Fame member, Velma Jackson High School. Thank you so much, my friend. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
See ya.